Here we go again, bro. They just will not stop with this foolishness. What is good? Cowboys Nation, welcome back to Attack on Cowboys. And we have got an unfortunate topic to discuss today because this is something I have seen getting way too much traction lately. Now, look, I usually try my best not to make content out of the trash juice, the absolute dumpster juice that ESPN puts on their airwaves, but this particular talking point has infected too many Cowboys fans. I am seeing variations of this garbage take all over social media and in comment sections everywhere, and we need to address it head on and shut it down once and for all. So the question being thrown around is, should the Dallas Cowboys trade George Pickens for Maxx Crosby? I almost slapped myself for even letting those words come out of my mouth. The answer is absolutely not. And I am about to break down exactly why this might be the dumbest trade proposal I have ever heard in my entire life covering this team. But before we dive into the madness, I need y'all to do something for me real quick. We are making a hard push for 50,000 subscribers right now, and it would mean the world to me if we can hit that milestone. If you have been watching the channel regularly and you need Cowboys content to get you through the summer, I promise you I have got you covered. I take care of the people who rock with this channel. So if you have not already hit that subscribe button, please do it right now and help me reach that 50K goal before the season kicks off. We are building something special here, and I want you to be part of this family. Now let us get into this ridiculous discussion because I am already heated and we have not even started yet. So, ESPN is out here playing fantasy GM with the Cowboys roster, and they are doing it with absolutely no consequences. The proposal goes something like this. If you are the Raiders, why not go after a trade for George Pickens? The Cowboys franchise tag GP, and if they cannot work out a long-term deal, they flip him to Las Vegas and get Maxx Crosby in return. And I am sitting here watching this segment, waiting for the analyst to explain why this is actually a good idea for Dallas. I am waiting for some actual logic or reasoning to support this take. And you know what I got? Nothing substantial. Now, I already know some of y'all in the comments are probably thinking, oh, I would definitely do that trade. Let me address y'all directly right now. Shut y'all asses up. And I mean that with love, but seriously, shut up. Y'all got upset with me a few weeks ago when I talked about potentially trading Osa Odigizua and pairing him with our 20th overall pick to get Maxx Crosby. Y'all were mad about that. But now y'all want to trade George Pickens straight up? Make it make sense because I am not seeing the logic here. Let me be absolutely clear about something. Maxx Crosby is a great player. When you watch the way Maxx Crosby plays the game of football, you cannot help but respect it. He plays every single snap like it is the most important play of his life. He brings energy and intensity that is contagious. He is a dog in every sense of the word, and I would love to have him on my team, but absolutely not at the expense of George Pickens. That is where I draw the line, and that is where every rational Cowboys fan should draw the line too. The ESPN analyst is talking about how you have beefed up your defensive line and how Maxx Crosby is going to make everybody on the defensive side of the ball better. And sure, that sounds nice in theory, but you know what else you did with this trade? You completely destroyed your offense and put it right back to where it was before we acquired GP. And by the way, let me remind everyone that Jalen Tolbert is a free agent this offseason. So when you trade away George Pickens, you know who your next receiver on the roster is? Kevontae Turpin. That is what you are working with at that point. You want to roll into the 2025 season with CeeDee Lamb and Kevontae Turpin as your top receiving options. Are y'all out of your minds? Cowboys fans, y'all frustrate me sometimes because we do not know how to appreciate good things when we get them. We have been complaining and crying and begging for years, me included in that, by the way. We have been upset about the fact that the Dallas Cowboys have been unable to get Dak Prescott a legitimate second weapon, a real number 2 option to take pressure off the offense. We have not had that since Amari Cooper was traded away, and even before then, Dak needed more help. Think about it. For roughly 85% of his career, Dak Prescott has had to operate with essentially one reliable weapon to throw to on the football field. We have all identified time and time again that this becomes a massive problem when your entire offense is built around that single player. What happens when you face an elite defense? What happens when you line up against the San Francisco 49ers from a few years ago or the Seattle Seahawks from this past season? I will tell you exactly what happens. Those defensive coordinators know exactly what to do. They take away your one weapon. They bracket CeeDee Lamb on every single route. They double him with safety help over the top. They make Dak beat them with his other options. And you know what happens to the Cowboys offense every single time that strategy is deployed against us? We sputter, we stall, we cannot move the ball. The offense becomes completely one-dimensional because at that point it is all on Dak to either force throws into coverage or rely on a run game that for most of his career has been inconsistent at best and non-existent at worst. Now we finally have George Pickens on the roster. We finally have a legitimate threat on the other side of CeeDee Lamb. A guy who demands defensive attention. A guy who can win contested catches and stretch the field. And what are some of y'all talking about? Trading him away. Replace him with what exactly? I need someone to answer that question for me because I am not seeing any good solutions. And quite frankly, I do not even know if the Raiders would agree to a straight swap of Maxx Crosby for George Pickens. They might still try to squeeze a draft pick out of us on top of GP to make that deal happen. So essentially, what you are proposing is nuking your guaranteed top-tier offense for a defensive player who does not even address your biggest issues. Let me break down the defensive side of this equation because people want to act like adding Maxx Crosby suddenly solves all of our problems. The defensive line is already the strongest unit on the Cowboys defense. That is not where the issues are. The problem that has plagued this team all season long has been the secondary. Our corners cannot cover. Our safeties are inconsistent. We get torched through the air on a regular basis. There has not been a single game this year where we walked away saying, man, the secondary was on point, but the defensive line really let us down. That has literally never happened. But there have been plenty of games where the defensive line did their job and generated pressure only for the secondary to get absolutely cooked by opposing receivers. So even if you bring in Maxx Crosby, what does that actually fix? Nothing. The secondary is still a problem. You would still need to go out and make 3 or 4 meaningful moves on defense just to make that Crosby addition matter. That is a terrible plan, and anyone pushing it needs to take a step back and think critically about what they are actually proposing. You are nuking a guaranteed elite offense to slightly improve an area that was not even your biggest weakness, and you are doing it while ignoring the actual holes on your roster that need to be addressed. Now, here is what makes this conversation even more infuriating, and it is the part that really gets me heated. The Dallas Cowboys have more than enough cap space to keep George Pickens and add premier defensive talent. This is not an either-or situation, no matter how much ESPN and their talking heads want to frame it that way. After triggering restructures on existing contracts, the Cowboys can have well over $90 million in cap space, even after signing George Pickens to a long-term extension. Let me break down the math for you because numbers do not lie. Even if you set aside $30 to $35 million for your rookie draft class, which is more than it will actually cost since you do not have that many picks this year, let us call it $25 million to be conservative. After accounting for the draft class, you are still going to have roughly $65 million to play with in free agency. That is enough to go sign Trey Hendrickson at his full market value of around $30 million per year and still have another $30+ million left over to address other positions and add depth. The Cowboys have more than enough financial flexibility to keep GP and bring in a premier pass rusher and shore up the secondary. They can do all of it. So stop with these ridiculous dialogues that act like trading Pickens is somehow necessary to fix the defense. It is not necessary. It is not smart. And it is absolutely not happening if anyone with sense is making decisions. I also want to address something that I think people forget, or maybe they just do not care. These players see what gets said about them online. Even though they do not respond to 99% of the comments and tweets and posts, they see all of it. George Pickens has social media. He sees what Cowboys fans are saying. We sit here talking about how much we want him in Dallas and how much we love what he brings to the offense and how we do not want any agent drama to mess things up. And then GP opens his phone and sees Cowboys fans actively discussing trading him away. How do you think that makes him feel? How does that help our chances of signing him to a long-term deal? We need to be smarter than this as a fan base. We need to show our players that we appreciate them and want them here for the long haul, not push them out the door before they even get a chance to sign an extension. All of my Cowboys fans out there who keep trying to do this fantasy GM nonsense with George Pickens, I need y'all to give it a rest. Can we please just leave well enough alone? Can we please just acknowledge that we do not need to theory craft with the offensive side of the ball anymore? As long as we have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and Dak Prescott, the offense is going to be fine. Keep Dak upright and give him those weapons, and the production will take care of itself. All of our energy and attention needs to be focused on adding pieces to the defense through free agency and the draft. That is the only conversation we should be having right now. Now, if you want to talk about trading for Maxx Crosby using draft capital and maybe a player who is not George Pickens, I am willing to have that conversation. I already said I would be interested in exploring a deal involving our 20th overall pick and maybe Osa as part of a package. That is a discussion worth having. But trading George Pickens, absolutely not. That is a non-starter for me, and it should be a non-starter for every Cowboys fan who actually understands football and roster construction. So let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. But I am warning you right now, if you tell me you want to trade George Pickens, I am blocking you. I do not want to hear any of your other sports opinions on this channel ever again. Your judgment is clearly too compromised for me to take seriously. If you cannot see why keeping GP is essential to this team's success, then I do not know what to tell you. For all my rational Cowboys fans out there who understand why this offense needs to stay together, I appreciate you. We are going to keep fighting for this team, and we are going to keep pushing for moves that actually make sense. We are on our way to 50K subscribers, and I need your help to get there. Smash that like button if you agree that GP is untouchable. Subscribe if you have not already, and I will catch y'all in the next one. How about them, Cowboys? Peace.